The title of Grandmaster was first officially awarded in 1950. Now, in 2017, at the St. Louis Winter Invitational, that tradition continues. Hello, chess fans. Ben Simon here at the Chess Club and Scholastic Center of St. Louis, where we have a treat for you. Over the next week, we have a norm tournament. 2 fields, actually, going on here at the club. Now, what is a norm tournament? Well, basically, a norm tournament is how one becomes or gets on the road to becoming a grandmaster or an international master. You need 3 benchmark performances to get that title, and also a rating minimum as well. So one of the 10-player round-robin fields, we will have a few grandmasters and then players who are trying to earn a grandmaster norm. Likewise, in the second field, 10-player round-robin, we have a few international masters, and the rest of the players are the up-and-comers who are trying to get one of the qualifications to become an international master. Stick with us right here on YouTube over the next week as we talk to some of the hopefuls, some of whom have come from all over the world to participate in this truly international event. And I'm here in the studio next to JJ Ali Marandi, who was victorious in his first game. And JJ, show us the tipping point or some highlights from this game today.
Yeah, sure. We played the Caro-Kann defense with f3, which is not the main line nowadays, but it's an interesting line to play a sharp game in the Caro-Kann. I really don't think Black has problems in the main line's Caro-Kann. I mean, White can play many other moves, e5, knight c3, but I preferred to play the f3 line today. There are many moves for Black, but my opponent decided to play for the main line. And White generally prefers to move bishop f4, but I was in a more tactical mood, so I decided to play this line where White can't really take on e4 because of queen h4 check. But played queen e2, and Black has many options here, but he decided to take on f3. I wasn't really sure with which piece to capture, but I decided to take with the queen because I didn't know what to do with the bishop on f1 really. So decided to take with the queen, knight f6, bishop d3, and White's a pawn down, but he has the bishop pair, development advantage and some space due to his pawn on d4. And he has an open f-file, which he can potentially use in any attack. My opponent played knight d7 with the idea to go e5, which makes a lot of sense. But I just stopped it with queen e2. My idea is just to go knight f3, short castles, and White should have some initiative at least for the pawn. Queen e7, knight f3, developing and preventing Black to play e5. b6, short castles. Well, I believe Black should maybe go bishop e7, but really didn't see bishop g5. I mean, no problems for White in my opinion. I should have some big compensation for the pawn at least. I really don't know where Black went actually wrong in the game. It was kind of not very obvious. Bishop g5, I want to play knight e5. All my pieces are attacking on the king side. If he goes bishop b7 here, maybe knight e5 still is good enough, because after he takes, I can take with the queen. If I would take with the pawn, maybe there's queen c5 check. And Black would be a tempo up compared to the game. But I can just take with the queen and then take on f6. It should be winning for White. Maybe it's better to just include h6 and try to play something like this. But I was pretty happy with White, honestly. Play queen d6. If I go knight e5, I think my opponent was going to play this position, where I was not very sure if I'm winning or not. My main intention was to go rook e1, but I wasn't very certain if I'm winning after move like maybe f5, trying to hold on somehow. Because if I takes, I was not sure. So I just decided to include rook e1 first. Bishop b7, knight e5. If he takes now, I think this was the important point. check, king h1. If he plays knight d7, let's say, now I'm threatening bishop f6. If my rook wouldn't be on e1, black could just take on e5. And I'm threatening to play bishop f6 right now, and if he, let's say, tries to prevent bishop f6 with the idea of going queen f8, I just take on f7, and this leads to a nice mate, like that. Maybe there are other ways, but this was the line I saw. And after c5, I think it's just winning for white in a forced sequence of moves. Because now the point of rook e1 is actually to bring the rook on e3. My opponent played one more move with bishop h7, and if takes, rook h3. And this is just checkmate. That was a recap.
Very cool. Now, JJ, you are not one of the 3 grandmasters in the field, so you have something to gain in this event. Tell us about your norm history if you have one.
I only have one norm currently, and I missed a couple of norms with only half a point. I passed the 2500 barrier once. I'm hoping to make 2 other norms as soon as possible and get my title.
Now, you were telling me earlier that it's not exactly a completely free ride here at this tournament because you have some other commitments here in St. Louis. Tell us about school.
Right, I study in the St. Louis University. I'm studying computer engineering currently, and I'm also attending the classes as well as playing at the event. So I'm both a student and an active chess player.
Who are you most looking forward to playing in the GM norm field?
Well, I respect every single opponent, so I really want to play all of my opponents, and I think they are equally important for me.
Well, there's a long way to go. JJ, congratulations today here at the St. Louis Chess Club. You're very welcome, and we'll bring you more. This is round 1. Let's take a look after round 1 in the GM norm field what the standings are. For 7 players, the objective, earn a norm. However, the means to doing that differs for each player. For 6.5 points, Gorovets, Liang, Burke, Ali Marandi, and Kumar can earn a GM norm. For only 6 points, Cheka and Abrahamian can earn a GM norm. And additionally, believe it or not, for 4.5 points, Kumar and Abrahamian are eligible for an IM norm in this section. All right, and now we move over to the IM norm field, and I'm sitting here with FIDE master Josh Kolas, and he was victorious in his game here today against national master Grabinsky, Aaron Grabinsky. Josh, take us through some key moments to this game.
Sure. So going into the game, it was pretty interesting because Aaron, he's my roommate in college.
Really?
Really. And we go to the same school at Webster University, and you know we both know what each other plays. And before the game, my mindset was I'm just gonna play a normal game and hope for the best. So I started with 1 G3, and it transposed into like a English. He played knight f6, bishop g2, e6, knight f3, b6, castle, bishop b7, c4, c5, knight c3, and here he played knight e4. Now I think this was this is one of the key moments of the game because one, this caught me off guard because I thought he would just play like a regular hedgehog setup. But instead he played this move, knight e4. I assumed that he wanted to trade off pieces right away and equalize. So I captured, bishop takes e4, d4, c takes d4, queen takes d4. Now here it's very tricky because I'm attacking his bishop, and I'm also limiting his bishop on f8 to stay on that only one square, because if he moves the bishop out, he's going to lose the pawn on g7. He plays d5. I play bishop g5. Here I calculated this move f6, and now I played a very interesting move, c takes d5. Now if he captures here on f3, bishop takes f3, I would capture back. And now if he takes this bishop, I have this nice move, queen a4. Now this bishop on f3 is indirectly attacking this rook on a8, and now he has to do either move his king out, move the queen. Let's say he does queen d7, I would capture, If he captures with the knight or the king, I would take on e6. I'm going to win one of my pieces back, and I'm going to be up at least a pawn and in a winning endgame. Now, the game went. He captured on d5, and I played this nice move, bishop takes f6. Here I felt pretty happy because I knew I was going to be up a pawn in the worst case, because if he captures on f6, I would take on f6 with the queen. I'm attacking his rook on h8, and I have a lot of threats. I have threat to play rook to d1 with the idea of checkmating him on d8. And I could also play the move knight e5 with a threat of queen f7. And I think after that, the game went, I guess he saw this, he played knight c6, and I was just up a pawn in a winning middle game, and I ended up with a win.
Well, very cool. And I didn't know that he was your roommate, so that's an interesting side story in itself. But speaking of side stories, you were telling me that you had some... you had 2 different norms already? Tell us about the norm situation for you.
Sure. I have one GM norm and one IM norm. I got my GM norm in Vegas in 2015. That was probably the best tournament of my life. You know, I got 6.5 out of 9, and I got a GM norm. And GM norm also counts as an IM norm. So I got one GM norm, one IM norm, and I also got another IM norm at the World Open of last year in 2016. So right now I have 2 IM norms and 1 GM norm.
So this could be the big one. Very cool. Well, any parting words, Josh?
I hope for the best, and thank you to all my fans for the continued support.
Very cool. Well, congratulations. Maybe we'll see you again.
Appreciate it.
Let's take a look at the IM norm section standings after just 1 round. 7 players in this field, eligible for a norm. However, the means to get there is different for each player. For 6.5 points, Grabinsky, Hua, Banawa, Kolis, Williams, and Shankar will earn an IM norm. And due to the tougher field he will face, Doug Eckert only has to get 6 points to earn his IM norm. The 2017 St. Louis Winter Invitational continues through Tuesday, February the 21st. Follow all of the action, including the live games, at uschesschamps.com.